are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the First National Electric Drive webinar. My name is Dan Redmond, Project Coordinator at Plug-in America, and I will be the facilitator for the call this afternoon and evening, depending on your time zone. First of all, thanks to everyone for hosting an event in your community and for taking the time to be on this call. We greatly appreciate it. Some exciting statistics so far for National Drive Electric Week are that we have 75 registered events in Canada, United States, and Mexico. We have over 2,700 electric vehicles being shared by their owners at these events. Over 2 million combined EV miles from these vehicles. So I think we all deserve a round of applause for that. The events that we will have this year are quite varied. They include parades and test drives, music, and lots of food. That's always fun. Some of the events have solar power installers, others have electric bike dealers. Those are ideas to bring to your events. A few events will be establishing world records, while others will be simply a dozen or so EVs at farmers markets. And all of these events are important, and all of these are appropriate for the audiences that they're reaching. We do want to emphasize that this is a celebration, first of all, of EV to the general public new to electric drive. The success of National Drive Electric Week will show car manufacturers, legislators, and car buyers that the EV has arrived, that people are willing to buy the EV, and that there is an overwhelming national interest in driving EV. While we are planning our separate events, please be aware and please remember that your work individually is helping move the industry forward as a national stage through your participation in National Drive Electric Week. So for a bit of housekeeping, we do appreciate your time now and plan for this call to be about an hour. If you have questions, please type your questions in the questions box on the right-hand corner on your webinar dashboard. We will write back to you during the webinar or address your questions at the end. We are recording this call, and we will post a link on our website in the next few days. If you think the call is helpful for other volunteers, please have them listen also. We also will be repeating this same call on July 10th. So if you know others interested in becoming a city captain in other cities or would like your volunteers to listen live, please see the details at the link at driveelectricweek.org. So there are a few webinar tips. That's what we just covered. The agenda. So the agenda for today is to cover the website and resources, which are creating and planning group and committees, identifying and securing locations, acquiring permits if necessary, creating the program, a press conference, awards, ride-and drives, etc., and developing publicity plans. We will also talk about developing media and social media. And finally, the last two things, we would like to have some input of events from cities throughout the country to share what they are planning with one another. We will wrap up with questions and answers. So thank you for being on our call. The people who will be speaking today are myself, Dan Redmond, and Tom Saxton, who is the Chief Engineer Officer and the website guru at Plug-in America. Zan Dubin-Scott is the Communications Director at Plug-in America. And Gina Copeland-Newfield is the Director of Future Fleet and Electric Vehicles at the Sierra Club. We will have two digital facilitators on the call, which you can route your online questions to. The first is Aaron Tater, who is the Director of Operations for Plug-in America, and Melissa Goldberg, who is the Sierra Club EV campaign. So without taking too much more time, we will move on to this information right here, which Tom will start to cover.
Thanks, Dan. Hey, so thanks to everyone who's registered an event already, and I just want to give you some information on that coming timeline. Obviously, the week of events is September 15th to 21st, so we want to get everybody, all set up well in advance of that. So our deadlines this year is that we want everybody to get their events registered on the website by August 1st, and to get all of the final event details, so date, time, location, on the website by August 15th. And now I will show you some tools on the website that will help you do your job as city captain. Let's get this stuff rolling. Okay, so let's start out over here on the resources page. So we used to have a city captain toolkit, and we would mail that out and revise it, mail it out again, and try to keep track of who had the latest version. That was a big pain, so we moved all of that information onto the resources webpage. And you'll notice here at the top of it, there's a table of contents that gets you all the different rainbow-colored sections, so you can drill straight to the information that you need. I just want to talk about a couple of the big points. There's a lot of opportunities for publicity, and the website offers some resources on how to issue a press advisory and how to use social media, and so I think you'll find that very interesting. Another item is insurance coverage. So you'll find that some sites will require you to get liability insurance. Seems kind of silly to me. You just have people parking cars in a parking lot and talking to each other. It doesn't seem like there should be insurance, but some site hosts will require that, and there are some resources we have there, and they're detailed in the insurance section. And then another one that we get a lot of questions about is the stuff that's covered in the files section of additional resources. So we've got high-resolution versions of all of the logos for National Drive Electric Week, and also for the 3 national organizations for Plug-in America, Sierra Club, and Electric Auto Association. And we also have a PDF for a postcard that you can use to hand out as advanced publicity. So if you're at a farmer's market where your event's going to be, you can print out some of these postcards and hand them out at that farmer's market a few weeks in advance of when your event is. And there's lots of other cool stuff on the resources page. I encourage you to spend some time there and share with the wisdom that we've received from having done this for 4 years. Next, I would like to talk about the events page. So I'm sure you've been to the events page before. It shows a map of all of the events. The green markers are events where we have the information on the date and the site. And the gray dots are the ones where we're missing at least one of those. So we want to get if you have a gray dot, we'd love to get that green as soon as possible. And our plan is that on August 1st, when we're no longer taking events, then we're going to remove those gray dots off of the map, because we don't want people signing up for an event if it's not going to happen. And we find that finding a site is generally the most difficult part of organizing one of these things. And if you don't have a site by 6 weeks before your event, you should be working very hard on that. So anyway, please get those site details and date details finalized as soon as possible, so you'll turn your dot green and not disappear when we cut off the event creation. So that's the stuff everyone can see. Now I want to talk a little bit about the tools that city captains get. So I've switched to a mock version of the website, so I can show you things without showing anybody's contact info. So once you've logged into the website as a city captain, you'll get this link here, your event, and so that's a quick way to get straight to your event. If you just go to the events page, then there's a handy little link here to whatever your event is. And just keep in mind that we only feature your event at the top of the page when you're logged in, so other people don't see that. And in fact, it can be an issue, because on the event page, what you see and what the public sees is different. So recently I've implemented a feature that allows you to see your event page the way the public does. So up here near the top where the little hand pointer is, you can see View Page As, and I just clicked on Public. So this is what an event page looks like to, just somebody that wanders onto the site. So we have the date and time information. We have a button they can push to register for that event, and another button they can push that will take them to a page that will allow them to contact the organizer. So that's you. So this gives people a way to send you a message without disclosing your email address. So far we've been very effective about preventing spam. I see all the messages that come through that mechanism, and I make sure that I haven't left the door open for spam bots to get in and start creating problems. So people don't see your email address unless you reply to them, and then presumably you know that they're a real person and not an evil spam robot. And there's a link that lets people share your event on Facebook, and then everybody gets to see how many attendees are signed up at your event here. And then also a table that shows what vehicles people have signed up to bring to your event. So that's what, and then if you've posted news links, if you've gotten local coverage of your event, you can post news links here and they'll show up on your page. So everybody gets to see that. Now if you're an approved volunteer at a website, at an event, then again at that event you get a little more info. Namely, you'll get this table here, volunteer contact info, and that'll tell you the email address and the phone numbers of the city captain and other volunteers for your event. So that can be handy. And then finally, we can look at it as city captain with our full privileges, and now we get a bunch more info. So starting at this section here, event admin, there's a bunch of different sections that you can go to, and these links let you jump there directly. You can see who your volunteers are, and if somebody's offered to be a volunteer, then they'll show up here, and then you can approve them either as a volunteer or as a city captain. As city captain, you also get this table that shows you the details on your attendees. So you can see people's names. Those are hidden from the public, so that way we protect the privacy of your attendees, but the city captains are allowed to see that information. And then also over in the left column where there's a little box, that should be a pencil. For some reason on this machine I'm not getting that character code, so we'll see if we can get that fixed. Leave me to find a bug on the website right before the webinar. Anyway, you can edit those registrations. So if somebody sends you a message and says, hey, geez, I can't make it, then you can adjust their info. So I can change, if they said, oh, I wrote down the wrong number of electric miles driven, you can fix them up. And if they have decided they can't attend your event, then you can actually delete them. So be careful with that. Like it says, it can't be undone or recovered, but that gives you a way to manage your attendees. Also, this is where you update your event info. So when you're ready to pick your date, you can come to this drop down here and set your date. You can also, there's a field you can fill in that tells you the hours for your event. So I can say, our event's going to be from noon, if I can spell correctly, noon to 4 p.m. And then I can fill in the details on the location. The map information, the longitude and latitude gets updated automatically based on the address in the city that you put in. There's a few event options. So for instance, if you're going to allow members of the public to take attendees for ride and drives in your vehicle, in their own vehicles, you can check this box and that'll add a question to the registration sign-up page for your event where they can say whether or not they want to allow people whether they want to take people for rides in their cars. A few events offer t-shirts to all of their registered attendees. If you're one of those events, then you can check this checkbox and that'll put a question on there where they can tell you what size t-shirt they want. Also, if your event is affiliated with a local EAA chapter or Sierra Club chapter or even something like a Facebook group, then you can put a name here. So let's say it's the Riverside EV Facebook group. then you fill in that string, and it'll add a question to the registration page that'll say, hey, is it okay to share your contact info with the city captains so that you can be added to this group? And then that'll give you access to their email address, which normally isn't visible to city captains. Then finally, down here, there's a section on event information that only becomes visible when you've told us what your site, once you've finalized your site. So finalize your site, then you get this, and then that gives you this editable region here where you can do formatted text, you can insert pictures, you can have all kinds of fun. And when you've made your adjustments to your information, you can click Update Event, and that'll tell you that your event info has been updated. To protect ourselves from, maybe somebody gets their account compromised, any change that you make to your content area, which that's what appears here, that has to be reviewed before it goes live. We're usually pretty quick about that. Probably do it within 24 hours now. As we get closer, we'll be more diligent about getting those things approved quickly. Let's see. Oh, all right. A couple more things left to talk about. Again, if you get coverage for your event in a local paper, or if you notice national coverage, you can put in a title or a headline. You can put in the link. You can tell us whether it's coverage of your local event. If you say yes, then we know that that's just about your event. If you say no, then that means it's about National Drive Electric Week at the national level. And then if you submit that, then it'll go onto your page, and it also goes onto our list of press links. So that helps us out. Once we get close to your event, there's another couple of sections here where you get to report back to us about how many attendees you had and how many ride and drives you gave, and you can take one awesome photo of your event and submit that to the website, and we'll make those sections available later. And that's the city captain's view of the website. And if you have questions, we'll try to help you out in the Q&A section at the end of the webinar. And now I'd like to introduce Zan Dubin-Scott, and she'll talk to us about publicity.
Hey everybody, I'm actually going to talk about almost everything that's on the resource pages, a lot of how-tos. So as Tom has said, there's just terrific, pretty simple instructions on our resource tab page. So I'm not going to go over that word for word, but check it out. I will go over the high points. So of course the first step, if you haven't done this already, is to create a planning group with the simple idea that a group of people is a lot easier to for putting on an event than a single person. But hey, if you're all alone doing it, great. Next, of course, is to identify and secure your venue. And I have 3 tips for choosing the best venue, and that's foot traffic, foot traffic, foot traffic. We've said this before, and really the goal of National Drive Electric Week is the opposite of preaching to the choir. We want to try to reach people who don't know about electric cars and how fun and fast they are. So finding a venue, like I said, that has already a lot of foot traffic and passersby is a great way to reach those people, rather than an isolated event off in some parking lot that may have a lot of room for test drives, say, but nobody but invitees will know about it and see it and drop by. Another great, the other thing is that, actually I'll come back to this. We're just talking right now about our venue. So of course, you want to acquire permits. That's something that can take time and can be a headache, so hats off to all of you who have to go through that. It's great to start as early as possible. Then, of course, we jump to creating your program. And as we've also said over and over again, that nothing so much creates an EV buyer as driving an EV. So we do like to emphasize that events include ride and drives, which of course can mean getting driven in an electric car or driving it yourself. We like to emphasize that. But another thing I've been thinking about a lot this year is that again, along the lines of reaching the uninitiated, is that, maybe try to think about adding activities rather, at your event that would appeal to a very broad audience. This could be something, food, music, these are great things. Just create a good, fun, free time that you can publicize it as something that the whole family would enjoy. This could include, I forgot what they're called, but those blow-up jumpy toys. I think some events are already including those. Fun for the whole family, that kind of thing. So I'm going to try to keep that in mind for my event this year. Let's see, a couple of other notes. If you develop a name for your event, which some participants have, such as the, say, Kick Gas Santa Monica, be sure that that name is really right wherever it's printed or used, right next to National Drive Electric Week. Brand is everything, right? So we want to continue to reinforce our brand, that being National Drive Electric Week, so that everyone benefits from it, and none more so than the whole movement of EV adoption. So again, if you have a nickname such as Kick Gas, please include it very close to National Drive Electric Week. Also, if you go after a proclamation, which is something that's in the resource page, how to do that, and having a city issue a proclamation for your event is a wonderful, on many levels. It brings recognition, it lets the city know, it involves the city officials, everyone we can touch is someone that we're carrying the EV message to. However, if you do this, be sure that the proclamation recognizes National Drive Electric Week. Again, to use my example, you can use your nickname, sure, that's great, including the city's name, such as Kick Gas Santa Monica, but again, be sure that National Drive Electric Week is mentioned and really the target of the proclamation and the award. Something brand new this year, I hope I'm not going too fast or slow here, but is we'd really like to develop and adopt a school program. This is another way of reaching out to more and more people. And what I mean by that is that a city captain could just, we think it could be just a little extra work. You look for, or a lot more fun, whatever way you want to look at it. But you find a school in your neighborhood, a school that's near the event, could be any level, could be anything from an elementary school to potentially a university or community college, and you approach them and say, hey, can we adopt you for National Drive Electric Week? And then what they get is they get named in the press release, and they also get oh, I had my notes and I've lost them now, but they get the benefit of the publicity by participating. Oh, and we will send, the city captain will lecture about National Electric cars generally at the school, if the school would like that. It could be very simple, 20-minute class period. So we feel that it's a real benefit to the school. They get free lectures, which evidently, is a real need. And we would include them in the local press releases, so they get publicity. And what we would ask in return is that they just send one simple email to every faculty member, every administrative, personnel at the school. It's another way of carrying our message, and it's also, if we really get sort of critical mass of events doing that this year, it can become a definite PR campaign for us, where we will basically say, hey, Drive Electric Week is reaching out to education this year, to academia. And to make this easier for everyone is we're going to be creating this week just, a rundown of what I've just said, and so it's very easy to understand, and an email to this potential school that you choose, telling them what you'd like to do, their benefits, etc., and also an email that they can use to invite their faculty, etc. So we'll be following up on that. Okay, publicity. Again, thanks to Tom and everybody else, we have some really easy to use templates for press releases and media alerts on the resources page, and that includes a timing, a schedule to help you know when to send these things out. Just so everyone knows, National Drive Electric Week has already sent out 2 press releases. The first one was our general announcement saying, hey, it's happening, here are the dates. And the second one, and possibly everyone on this call knows all this stuff, but the second press release, which was just a few weeks ago, was announcing our video soliciting city captains starring Chris Payne, director Chris Payne. So that we just wanted everyone to know that, and our media list is about 150 newspapers, bloggers, radio, and TV outlets. We've gotten some nice coverage. It's very early, and media likes to cover things right very close to the actual event happening, but we've got some nice hits from EV Trade. And also kind of new this year is I would like to urge everyone, if possible, to start publicizing their events now. Now, naturally, you know, media is not going to, it's very far in advance, but you never know. They may be looking for extra stories about what's coming up, or just a kind of a human interest feature. And I would definitely suggest that you include a link to the Chris Payne video. You know, it's fun, it's funny, and we'll make sure that that link also is available to everyone. By the way, it's been clicked on, that video, by 1,500 people so far. Also, something that's been very helpful in years past is that we will be sending around a list of media contacts in every city that is participating. Now, that will come probably around the end of August or early September. So if you do start, of course, your media outreach now, that'll be up to everybody to find reporters, editors, and their emails and phone numbers. It's usually very easy. You can just go to the newspaper or TV station's website and poke around, and you'll find, you know, the contact us. A couple of other just emphasis on how to make your press release attractive. I would really emphasize that your event is free. The great majority of them are. And again, this is a way of reaching a broader audience. You know, and again, if you're programming food, music, entertainment, face paintings, lectures about sustainability in general, ways, again, that would appeal to large audiences, not just the EV owner. And media like that. They like to reach as many people as once. So Tom mentioned our new postcard. We're really excited to have that this year. The design was donated by a nice design firm, and that is, as Tom said, posted on the resource page. Everyone can just download it and send it to your local Kinko or whatever it is. It can also be customized. I'm not sure exactly how to do that. Perhaps someone will address that question on this call, but you can put that we left space so that people could put their own city details, time, address, etc. So that's fun. As far as messaging goes, one important note is that anything you send out this year, of course, needs to be called National Drive Electric Week. There are still some websites, some Facebook pages and such out there that are calling it National Plug-in Day. So please update everything. And as far as sort of, you know, the big messages that we're trying to send, we have a wonderful talking points page on the resources page, which is all describes EV benefits, and you can cut and paste if you like. And again, you know, we emphasize fun, convenience, charge while you sleep, and affordable. And you know, something, if you really want to get down and dirty, what would be a great idea would be to literally call up some local dealers and find out what they're selling, you know, EVs for these days, because I find that a lot of media simply do not know, or they go by some, you know, vast generalization which is no longer current. You know, I know, for instance, that you can easily find, well, I don't know about easily, but the used Leafs are now selling for about $15,000, and I really doubt that that's printed much in any media. So there's that. Finally, social media. There's, again, great tips on the resources page, and also just, remember just to do what we always, we don't have to get complicated in this. Send it out on your own LinkedIn page, send it out on your own Facebook page, or an email group even. Send it, tell friends about it, all of that good stuff, and allied organizations. And it's really good that city captains encourage participants to register on their event page, because we all know everyone likes to go to an event that's overcrowded, right? I think Yogi Berra had a funny saying about that. But anyway, encourage registration. Let's see. Okay, and again, we have a hashtag. It's hashtag NDEW2014. Again, please take a few moments to update all your social media sites with your respective dates, times, and locations, and use that Chris Payne video as much as you can. We think that that's, if I helped produce the video, and I wish I had some way of putting a kitty cat or some twerking into it. I'll end on that note. Suffice to say, again, the more we can broaden our appeal to the non-EV owner, the better. I know some would disagree with me on twerking, but there you have it. Anyway, that's it for now. Please ask questions, and I'll give it back to Dan to give us some great examples of great events.
Thank you so much, Tom and Zan. It's really remarkable working with these folks over the last few months, as well as all of the organizers of these events throughout the country, because I recognize how many broad skills are really used to make a successful event. So you may have someone who is doesn't know everything about every EV on the market, but is great at website development, or as great as Zan is as marketing this information. These folks who may be your daughter's sons, husbands, wives, they can also be great support for your event. So feel free to ask beyond your EV crowd to ask for help. So I would like to spend the next 10 minutes or so, maybe 15, if folks can share information about their events, what they're excited about, that would be great. If you raise your hand, we'll try to get to you. Let's see if anybody is interested in sharing. Anyone? Let's see. Oh, Don. Okay, Don Francis. Would you like to, let me see how I unmute you. Unmute Don. It's not working. Anybody give me a hand unmuting Don? There it is. Okay, Don.
I'm unmuted now?
That's correct. I hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, we're putting together again our Atlanta event. Again, hosted at Atlantic Station. It is a live, work, drive community, or live, work, play community in the Midtown area of the city next to the expressway. We have lots of charging stations installed over there over the last couple of years, including now a Tesla supercharger, hopefully by the time the event comes online. We took over the complex last year. We can put about 50 vehicles on the streets, and I'll echo what was said before. We did an event somewhere where there wasn't foot traffic in the previous years. Last year we did it here because of the foot traffic, and there were times when I looked down the streets that we blocked off around the central part of the complex where you couldn't see the vehicles because of the people. So that part of it worked out extremely well, including the fact that Clark Howard, who is a well-known consumer reporter on CNN and other stations, brought his Tesla and stayed for hours talking to customers, and I thought that was really kind of the event. I think our real challenge here for Atlanta is, can we grow it beyond parking for 50 vehicles? We probably had 100 Leafs in a parking lot nearby. And if anybody knows anything about what's going on here in Atlanta, you know a parking lot for 100 Leafs is totally inactive equipment now. But I think working with the event, or the business owner, CBRE handles the complex. They loved what they saw. They're really excited about doing it again this year. So what we're trying to do now is figure out what else we can do other than this one event at Atlantic Station.
Thank you, Don. I see Marco has got his hand raised. Would you like to tell us about your event, Marco? Hello, Marco. How about Martin? Is Martin there?
Ed.
Folks who do want to share, if we for some reason can't get to you, a great platform for this is the Google Groups, the City Captain Google Groups. So please share all of your successes as well as your challenges on that. There might be other folks who may be able to answer your questions that way. Roma French. Would you like to share, Roma?
Yes. Okay. So we're organizing this event in Longmont here in Colorado. We've actually talked to Don about it because he mentioned that they're doing one in Denver, in Boulder, probably in Fort Collins. But
we're looking to do it on our main street. I'm her husband. We're working it on together. So we're looking at doing a Main Street Longmont, which is a downtown area. It's going to probably be a smaller event, but we are looking at a variety of vehicles from BMWs from the dealership, as well as Leafs, Ford Focus that we had imported from Kansas because we decided to purchase one, as well as a motorcycle,
Volts,
a Chevy Volts, and bikes as well, electric bikes and motorcycles. One of the key things that we're going to do a little different is, since Longmont and Boulder are really tech city, we are getting the vehicle control module that actually controls the Chevy Volt and possibly one from the Leaf, where they can actually see how it works, and some of the tech guys would like to see if they can extend the range or maybe make it accelerate faster. So one of the dealerships is going to donate one for us.
We'd also like to mention that we're organizing this event together with Tinkermill.
Yeah, Tinkermill.org, which is the very big tech group here. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. We're trying to get a couple of charging stations donated from Clipper Creek as well. But that's about it for now. We're doing it Main Street, so it's hosted around a lot of restaurants, downtown restaurants and stuff, so they'll get to see it. And hopefully what we'd like to do is the city would like it so much that they would start putting charging stations along the Main Street where these restaurants are. And, yeah, that's the big thing.
Thank you for sharing. That's actually precisely what we'd love to see is legislators or folks who have decision-making ability within a city to see this organization of folks and wonder what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So your event goes beyond the day of the event itself. Let's have one more time for Charles. Charles Garina, if you're available to talk about your event for about 2 minutes, that would be great.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. We're using the nickname Drive Electric RVA, and one of the things we're doing in addition to the standard rally is we're having a series of free screenings of movies related to electric vehicles. We have an arrangement with the producers of Kick Gas to do a screening of their movie, as well as one movie that was a documentary that was done locally in Maryland by an EV owner taking a trip across the state of Maryland in his Nissan Leaf. And he was also kind enough to send us some books that a book he wrote on the trip as well, several copies of that to do a raffle. And so we felt it was important to have events in addition to the standard rally to try to, again, reach out to people who are interested in EVs but not necessarily to own them. And so we thought that might be one way of doing it. And we're also trying to engage with local dealerships to offer test drives during that week or even the week leading up to this week to encourage, because there's a number of dealerships in the Richmond, Virginia metro area that sell electric vehicles, but they don't necessarily have one available to test drive. I had to actually travel outside of Richmond to test drive a Nissan Leaf before I bought one. And so what I'm hoping to do is to encourage them to make vehicles available during that week for people to test drive and publicize that fact. And we're having our main rally on September 21st at the Science Museum of Virginia, and again trying to get that foot traffic. We're also inviting some guest speakers, people who are local EV owners, as well as a professor who teaches about repairing hybrids and electric vehicles from a local community college, and we're hoping to get some interest in that as well.
Science museums are fantastic places because you've got the general audience, but you also have an engaged and interested audience as well. Let me try to, I want to squeeze one more in if I can, and then we'll go on to questions and answers. If Jim Smith is available, that would be great. Jim, can you say a word or two? Are you there, Jim?
Yeah, I'm here. Oh, let's see here. You were unmuted. Okay.
Yep.
Do you hear me now?
I do.
Oh, okay, great. So, yeah, I'm in Golden, Colorado, which is home of the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and I'm the owner of a real estate company here, which is known for its sustainable practices, solar power, and I drive a Tesla, and my assistant drives a Volt. And we, on our street, which is South Golden Road, we have a monthly, the first Saturday of every month is a super cruise, where people bring their gas guzzlers, going back to things like either homemade cars or Mustangs and Corvettes and stuff like that, and they just cruise around and they park in parking lots and open their hoods and so forth. So on the one for June, which was the 7th of June, we our parking lot is usually filled with these gas guzzlers, but we restricted it to electric vehicles only. We had 3 Teslas, about 3 Volts, we had 2 BMWs, we had a motorcycle, we had a Leaf. It was really cool, and I gave drives in my car, and I took a drive in a BMW. It was a really neat event, but of course it was overshadowed by all the gas guzzlers on the street. And what I'm thinking is that on the 21st, Saturday the 21st, we'll have it just where there's not the distraction of all the gas guzzlers. We'll have our electric vehicle roundup again. That's what we call it, an electric vehicle roundup, and offer test drive, not test drives, but rides in the various electric cars that are there. And I know, personally, I know most of these people who participated last time and the dealers, and we can get them to come and recreate this, but not have the distraction of all those gas guzzlers.
That really sounds like a lot of fun. I might have to come to that event. Thank you. Hey, thank you for everyone. I think what we'll do in the sake of time, let's move on to questions and answers. To try to keep it to an hour, we've got about 16 minutes left. Gina will lead us in that. And of course, anything that you think of later today that you said, I wish I'd asked on the call, you know, we're here. So just drop us a line, and if it's a question that is important to everyone, we'll be sure that we get it put out on the message boards. So take it away, Gina.
Okay, great, Dan. Thank you, and thank you also to Zan and to Tom. And most importantly, thank you to all of you who are organizing events. We're so excited. This year it's poised to be bigger and better than previous years, which is really saying something. So I wanted to open it up to Q&A and see what kinds of things are on folks' minds that, that the whole group can benefit from hearing about. So Melissa or Erin, do we have any questions yet?
Yes, we do. So the first question that hopefully you can field is whether there's any advice on engaging dealers.
Say that question again.
Is there any advice on engaging dealers?
Oh, great question. Yeah, I think that that people's experience in engaging dealers is really varied, and it really depends on the dealership. Some dealerships are really excited to sell electric vehicles, and some are quite hostile to electric vehicles, and a lot are in the middle. So I think you know, you really got to take it on a case-by-case basis and contact individual dealerships. Ask around among folks in your area to see which dealerships have a good reputation for selling EVs. See if they're interested in coming to your event, bringing their vehicles. you know, if it's on a weekend, I know that dealerships sometimes are a little hesitant to leave the dealerships because these are the days when they tend to sell the most vehicles. But I think the selling point here is that you're going to have this captive audience of, you know, dozens or more, you know, possibly even hundreds of people who are going to be interested in talking about the cars. And so, you know, it should be a real selling point that the dealership should participate in providing cars, in sharing information, possibly sponsoring or providing some sort of support for the event, in promoting the event to their potential customers. You know, there are all sorts of ways that dealers can get involved. Anything that other facilitators wanted to add?
Yeah, this is Tom. I'll just say that in California, where I think we have some of the best data, we've shown pretty well that the best EV sales day of the year is the weekend of National Drive Electric Week. So if we can get that message out to dealers that this really is a super valuable sales opportunity to them, then maybe you're right. We can get them you know, out of their dealerships on a weekend day to come and sell a bunch of cars.
Great. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay, one of the speakers mentioned that their location had a charging station, and the question was, what are people doing if the location doesn't have charging stations, which I'm sure is probably a lot of them.
Right, that's a good question because a lot of your attendees may want to charge their vehicles at the event. I think it sounds like it'll just depend on the event. So, you know, to really communicate with the participants in the event, the people that you're inviting to come, especially if you know they have an electric vehicle. If you have a charging station, let them know that. If there won't be a charging station, let them know that. There are some entities or some companies that actually provide portable charging stations, so if you can get some of these entities to participate in your event, you know, obviously all the better. There's a company called Envision Solar. It's a pretty small company, but if you happen to have some sort of connection to them or can reach out to them, they have portable solar-powered charging stations, which is, you know, really pretty cool on a number of levels. What would other facilitators or panelists add to what I've mentioned about charging stations?
You know, I think this is Tom again. For most events, most of your attendees are going to be local, and you know, for one thing, if you get, you know, how many Leafs do you really need at your event? You know, do you really need 50 Leafs? So if somebody driving a Leaf wants to come to your event, then maybe you can help them organize carpools where maybe they park nearby, charge their Leaf, come to the event and have fun, even though their Leaf isn't actually on the lot. So it gets trickier when you've got a unique vehicle that's coming from a further distance and needs the charging. And so I would try to you know, reserve your charging for those opportunities and encourage, you know, other people that, you know, they should definitely come to the event and help talk to people, but their car doesn't necessarily have to be right there on the lot if they need to take advantage of charging that's nearby.
Well, this is Dan. That comes to another point that often we're in our car longer than we're actually driving our car. So the test drive may be 15 minutes, but in some areas like where I live, 15 minutes is 3/4 of a mile at the most. So each drive probably won't take that much mileage off your vehicle.
Yeah. And this is Gina. The one other thing I'll add on this topic is that if you could somehow organize your event in conjunction with the launching or the announcement of a new public charging station, that could be a great opportunity to get media coverage, to get policymakers involved. So if you can find out who the players are in your city or your state, who are the ones who are investing in public charging stations, whether it's a company that's installing the station, you know, at their own expense, or maybe it's a government agency that's installing public charging stations, if you can reach out to them and find out where they're planning to install charging stations in the coming weeks and months, and you don't necessarily have your location set for your event, that could be a great opportunity to work together. You know, they launched this new charging station, you help get media coverage, maybe you get the mayor or the governor to come out, or the head of a business that's hosting it. So those are some ideas around charging stations. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay, so several people have asked about the slides being available and also Q&A being available. I'll go ahead and answer that. The webinar is being recorded, and we'll be making that available next week. The next question, there's multiple questions here. So this has to do with like handouts and materials. One person wanted to know if there would be any handouts like 8.5 by 11 that would be prepared, and another person wanted to know if there was a standard layout already made up for T-shirts. So I just lumped those together.
Okay, I think somebody other than me knows about T-shirts. Right, wasn't there at least one organizer who was putting together T-shirts that they were making available to other organizers?
I do remember reading about that on the Google list. It's not something that we're doing internally, but I think that there is a group that is making them in quantity. That information can be found on the City Captain Google group.
Okay, and in terms of the fact sheets, that's a great question. I think in years past we have had fact sheets. I think maybe there was one Sierra Club fact sheet and maybe another from Plug-in America, and we haven't figured that out yet, at least from Sierra Club. We do have a fact sheet on electric vehicles that we're in the process of updating, so I think we will make that available. I don't know if Plug-in America or Electric Auto Association was planning to do the same. We should also think about whether we want to do a, official National Drive Electric fact sheet. It's not something we've talked about, but I think it's a good topic for us to check in on and get back to everybody about.
Yeah, so just one more thing. On the resources page, if you go to the files section, I'm trying to bring it up here. If you go to the files section, there's a subsection called For Attendees, and in there's sample posters for EV drivers. Those are a bunch of 8.5 by 11 sheets that you could print out. People can put in their cars to convey information about the advantages of driving electric, and there are some there that would be good handouts also. So that's one place to look.
Great. Okay, let's go to the next question.
All right, the next question is any ideas on how to secure people such as designers, engineers, or EV celebrities for their event?
That's an interesting question. Well, so I think let's take that one at a time. So it was engineers, celebs, and was it artists? Was that the third category?
Designers, engineers, and celebs.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I think everyone's just going to have to take this on a case-by-case basis in terms of who they know, and this is a great networking opportunity to figure out who on your committee, your organizing committee, or who in your network has what kind of skills and connections. So I think it's really just a matter of putting the word or the question out and figuring it out. Celebrities obviously are particularly challenging to recruit to participate in events, but it does happen. We've had a number of celebrities participate in Drive Electric Day or National Plug-in Day or National Drive Electric Week events in the past. But it's often the fact that someone organizing the event knows somebody. They happen to live in that city, or they're on a sports team that plays in that city. So it's really about who you know. In terms of engineers, I would say same thing. Just put a note out to your organizing committee and your lists, and be really specific about what you need an engineer for. I think people are more likely to respond to a request for information or help if they know exactly what you're asking for. So if you can be specific about what you need the engineer for, and I would say the same would go for designers, specifically what you're looking for help with. And people are often happy to help if they know what you're looking for help with. Anything to add from others?
I would just add that I did pretty much what you described, Gina, to find it's a local advertising marketing agency that designed our postcard. And in fact, it was timing. They were looking for a nonprofit cause to be involved with. And as you'll see on the back of the card, they are noted, they're named, so they get something out of it. And it's just as simple as approaching people and making an ask and explaining the benefit that they would receive, and that any in-kind donation or financial would be tax deductible.
Great. Great. And on the celebrity front, I would emphasize that, and most of you probably know this, if you're able to get some sort of celebrity or government official who, doesn't necessarily need to be famous to the world, but, government official is someone who can be well known in your community, that's going to be more likely to generate media coverage for your event, to generate more public awareness about your event. If you have your mayor or city council member or governor or state legislator coming to your event, their office is more likely to put out a press release about it and help you promote it, because they want their person to to use this as an opportunity to promote their cause and the issues that they work on. So I would definitely encourage folks. I mean, you don't necessarily need to get Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie to come to your event, but if you can get your city council member or a state legislator to come, great. If you know of a sports player who drives an electric car in your community, reach out to their team and see if they'd be willing to send the sports player in their electric vehicle. All these connections, all these people are going to make your event more appealing to the media and to the public. Let's move on to the next question.
Well, I can add just one thing to that. Just watching the local news, I watch for local politicians that have done things in support of electric vehicles, and then reach out to them, and that has generated some pretty helpful contacts. So just to see who, among your state legislators or your city council people that are voting for or advocating for EV stuff, and try reaching out to them.
Great.
And I'd like to add that last year and previous years, we've seen fantastic local coverage. The city captains have done just a wonderful job. I see the hits coming through on my Google alerts, and so you guys out there are doing something really right, and we thank you for that.
All right, so I think we have time for one or two final questions. Erin, do we have any others?
Yeah, let me just say that if the question was typed in and doesn't get answered, we'll make sure that you get an answer to your question in the next couple days. So the next question is, how do you solicit sponsorships if you are not a 501c3?
That's a good question. So we're actually just in the process of updating our corporate sponsorship guidelines and information. So we're going to be sending that out to folks in the next couple of days. So folks should definitely look out for that over the Google group. And we'll update it on the website as well under the resources. Why don't we take one last question?
The next question is, has anyone promoted their event on the radio? And if so, does the cost get waived because it's a nonprofit organization?
Oh, that's a good question. So, I mean, I think the best coverage for these kinds of events is what's called earned media coverage. So you don't necessarily have to pay for it. You put out a press release, a press advisory, you talk to reporters, you talk to producers, and they will put it out there, whether it's on the radio or in print or on the website or a blog or whatever it is, TV. And so that's free. That's called earned media coverage. In terms of paid media coverage, I think there are examples where, whether it's a radio station or another entity will promote it for free as part of sort of a public service announcement. That's a little bit more challenging, but it does happen, so it can't hurt to reach out to your local radio stations or television stations to ask if they would consider that. As I think Zan mentioned earlier, we are going to be putting together for all city captains a whole bunch of media resources. So a sample press release and press advisory. We'll be putting together media contacts of reporters in your area who've been covering EV-related topics in the past few months or few years. So we'll be getting that out to everybody. Also for the next city captain webinar, which we'll probably have in August, we haven't figured out exactly what we're going to focus on for that yet, but we might decide to focus in part or even maybe exclusively on media and publicity, because we know this is a really popular topic for folks. So definitely stay tuned for more information about media and publicity. So I know it's the top of the hour, so why don't I ask my fellow panelists if there's anything else that they wanted to add before we wrap up. Okay, great.
I guess I would just, I'm sorry, oops. Sorry for my long pause. On the public service announcements, just because someone asked, but because radio stations are not required on television to do these anymore, if you can get them, they tend to be at the crack of dawn. So if you feel like you don't want to waste a lot of effort for that kind of result, just be forewarned.
That's a great point. Great. Well, thank you to everybody. Thank you to the other panelists. And thank you very much to Aaron Tater and Melissa Goldberg for doing all this work behind the scenes, for organizing this webinar. And thank you so much to everybody for organizing events, for being part of this call tonight. As we've said, stay tuned for more information along the Google groups and also on the website. And we're so excited to hear how your events are coming along. Definitely let us know if you have questions or ideas. And we'll look forward to staying in touch. Thanks, everybody.